Happy Travel Tuesday, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our award-winning podcast, Smart People Travel Wise, a platform where we discuss all things about travel. I'm your host, Tennie Sumague, coming to you from my hometown of Woodside, Queens, New York. And today's episode, I'm going to share with all of you, to all our viewers, some travel trends and favorite destinations that you may want to go to in 2023. And a little bit about myself. I am an educator for over 18 years and counting. I also have freelance both in sports and in travel for Eagle News Broadcasting Corporation. And I am doing this podcast for almost a year, sharing you some stories and some just great advice, travel advice for all of you so that you can learn how to travel wise. But before we get started, I like to remind all of our viewers, if you are watching this live, hashtag live. And if you are watching this on replay, hashtag replay. Share where you're coming from or watching so that we can acknowledge all of you. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and YouTube. You can also listen on Amazon Fire and iHeartRadio, or download the PHLV radio app available on all iOS and Android devices. Now, February is almost ending. We're probably 2 months into 2023, and yes, travel is back. And this is probably the best time where everybody should start planning their vacation, whether you want to go on somewhere during the spring break. April, May is probably one of the best times to travel because airfare is still cheaper than it would be during the summer. And also, it's just great weather anywhere that you go, anywhere that you travel around the world. And then, but most of the time, families, because, that's what they call summer vacation. Most families do travel during the school break, whether it's they go to beach vacation, city. If you're a city wanderer, you could go to any city, especially my hometown of New York City, because the Big Apple, it's always beautiful all year round. Or always fun to go to Las Vegas, whether you want to gamble or you want to stay in one of those luxurious 5-star hotels. My dream hotel is I'm a Hilton girl, so I've always wanted to stay in the Hilton. And probably if I do travel back to Sin City, and also I still need to take Instagram photo on that Las Vegas side. I have one as when I was a kid, but I haven't taken one as an adult. So that's on my bucket list of things once I travel back to Las Vegas. But yeah, anywhere around the world, it's always nice to go. And the best time to start planning, whether you want to go on vacation, spring, summer, fall, winter, or even next year for 2024, or there's even travel suppliers who are already advertising for 2025. The best time now is to start researching and travel, kind of research and find out where you want to travel, what you want to do, whether it's with your family, with your spouse, solo travel, adventure travel. There's so many options out there. But I do want to say that one of the things, I always say, this is why I became a travel advisor, is because with my years of traveling, I've been traveling since I was 4, thanks to mom and dad and my sister and their bank accounts. I've been privileged to travel to 22 countries. I'll say that I think it's 22 countries and over 100 cities and small towns around the world. I mean, I've been to Las Vegas near like 5 times. I've been to San Francisco 5 times. I've pretty much done all of half of Europe. I've been to the in the last, I'm 43 right now. Yeah, so within the last 40 years, I've been to the Philippines, what, 5, 6 times, which is a lot, because travel is expensive. But I've been privileged, thanks to my parents and my sister and their bank accounts. But I also worked hard as well, and I also have the time because I'm a teacher and we have a lot of vacation times. I only work 180 days in a year. But back to why you should use a travel advisor over trying to plan your own vacation. And this is what I went to 2 weeks ago. I was privileged to have gone to the Travel and Adventure Show, which that's one of the largest or biggest premier travel shows in the United States. And they've traveled to different cities from Boston. Over the weekend, they were in Los Angeles. I know there's one that I do believe they do go to Las Vegas, but I do know there's a big travel show in Las Vegas in June. But a lot of when you go to travel shows and then you have people in the industry, award-winning journalists, award-winning writers, they always say one thing to the consumers is that try not to plan your own vacation, but make use of a travel advisor. Why? It's because they're the experts, right? Rather than using a third, Google or some third party like Expedia, Priceline. What else is out there? Orbitz. And then, there's nothing wrong with that, especially when you're traveling last minute. That's kind of where it comes in handy. But if if you have time, really take advantage of a travel advisor. And I'm doing this podcast to not only promote myself as a travel advisor. I have said I specialize in Europe and Asia, land tours and cruises, but the company that I work for, TravelWise International, there's amazing travel advisors that will help you plan your destination and experience that will last you a lifetime, because that's what travel is all about. And travel advisors, yes, most of them, they charge fees. And think of it as a wedding planner, or if you hire a photographer to take your family photo or your engagement pictures or wedding and so forth. There's always a fee, because you have to understand that's their business, and you're paying people for their time to help you plan. Like that's the use of travel advisors. They help you plan. They're experts in your field, and they're going to tell you things that you can't get from Expedia or any online travel engine. And that was one of the things that award-winning travel journalist Peter Greensburg had said during the Travel and Adventure Show that was here in New York City. Especially when you use a travel advisor, they will tell you things that you can't find in Google Buy, because they're experts. Like, for example, for me, I know I could tell my clients, the best times to go to Italy, when to go, where to stay, things to watch out for. One of the things, cautious things that you have to be careful with are gypsies in Italy. And you can't find that in a travel engine. They're just going to show you prices and where it's located. You just read the reviews, and then you think, okay, since you have that, I'll plan out my favorite vacation. And one of the things too is when you book directly through a travel advisor or get advice, they'll tell you the ins and outs. What are the cons of using Expedia, Orbitz, Priceline? Well, especially when you book a flight, there's fees, there's hidden fees. And if you have to cancel, you have to be also very careful. You have to see and I get this a lot. Well, I found this place, it's cheaper, but little do they know is like, okay, the airfare is cheaper is because, yeah, you're flying economy. You're going to be the last people on board. You're going to sit all the way in the back near the bathroom, and you never want to sit all the way in the back, especially when, um, in case somebody has to use the bathroom to, you know what? And I don't mean pee, I mean the other one. I'm speaking from experience too, because that was, when I had a bad experience sitting in the all the way in the back, and I made it a habit to, number one, book my flight directly, on the website of whatever airline I'm flying out of, rather than using Expedia or a search engine, because they'll, most of the time when you book flights from there, they give you an economy price, not the main price. And if you have to cancel your trip, this is another. The prices are cheaper, all because it says non-refundable fee. If you want no changes, if you want to change your flight, there's going to be a fine. I wouldn't say fine, a fee, extra fee, because that actually happened to me when I went to Korea. I accidentally booked the wrong time of my flight from Seoul to Manila, and I had to, because I didn't book it through directly to on the airline's website. I did it through a third party engine. I had to pay an extra, not only the fine of the airlines, but also the fine of the company. So I ended up having to pay $400 to change my flight, which is why I always advise people when they book their flight anywhere in the world to do it directly to on the airline. And sometimes they will give you prices too. In the third engine, they'll lower. Yes, most of the time it's the prices are low, all because it's mostly for economy, meaning, like as I said, you'll be the last one to get seated, and you're going to be winding up sitting in the back. And usually, especially if you're traveling with a senior, you never want to sit in the with a senior. And I know this because I've been traveling with my mom. She's 80 years old. Me and my sister, we always make a habit to choose our seats that are closer if we are flying economy. One of these days we'll fly business or first class if we make $1 million. But most travelers do fly economy unless you're a travel hacker or you work for airlines. You have the privilege to fly first class or business class and so forth. But that's some tips. That's a tip that you want to know, is that it's better to book through directly to the airlines. You get to pick choose your seats. But if you are flying economy, just know that it's cheaper. It's because you last minute, you get into the airplane last minute, and also sometimes that you're limited to just a hand carry, or sometimes not a hand carry. JetBlue does that. They have different deals, like Blue deal and another deal. Their cheapest deal is when you fly that cheapest deal, you're not allowed a hand carry. And you have to, and if you do have a check-in luggage, you have to pay for that check-in luggage. Norse, which is one of the biggest airplanes. It's the international version of like JetBlue and Spirit Airlines and Frontier. It's a low carrier airline which travels, which has great deals, cheap deals to Europe. But the catch is when you fly Norse in comparison to, say, United or Delta or American, is that you have to pay for your seats. Yeah. So those are some things. Cheap is not always good. I mean, it depends how you want to travel and your budget. But take note, there's little things that you have to know why it's cheap. You can't like when you book through Expedia or other travel engines, they're not going to tell you why it's cheap or why what kind of the seats and stuff. You have to kind of figure it out, which is why it's important that you hire or find a travel advisor. Another thing also is, and this has been emphasized to many experienced travel advisors, travel writers, is the importance of purchasing travel insurance because of COVID. This is something important that happened because of COVID. Not many people, and I know this, I've never purchased travel insurance until now. And I know it's important because when you're traveling internationally, you depending where you're going, I will tell you in Europe, it's like America. And if you get sick, if you have, that's another thing. If you have the proper travel insurance, you could go to the hospital and it's all covered. And if, God forbid, something happens, sometimes you might have to go to the hospital because you had food poisoning or you drank the water there. It won't happen in Europe. It's pretty safe. But in cases like if you're going to the Philippines, and they will, this is a Filipino community, and I was always warned as a kid to never drink the water. Don't drink tap water. Don't even drink the soda, like the soda that comes from the. I always wanted to try the soda that comes from like the Ziploc bag. And yeah, my dad always said no because of sanitary issues. You don't know where it's coming from. They could who knows where that soda is coming from when it's a bag in comparison when you um, especially to if you've never been to the Philippines or any other say third world country. Yeah, you have to be careful what you eat, what you drink, and that's the importance of travel insurance. What if you ate something? And I've gotten sick a couple of times eating siopao. I had food poisoning eating siopao, and it was siopao from the airport, and I was going from Manila to Bangkok, and during my time in Bangkok, I was sick, and luckily, I didn't have travel insurance at that time, but back then I would have purchased travel insurance because what if I had to go to the hospital? So in cases like that, it's important to always purchase travel insurance, and that's where a travel advisor can come in. They'll explain what the perks of the travel insurance comes with, rather than if you book through a third party engine, they just tell you, okay, add additional 200 or whatever. Sometimes it's even the cheapest travel insurance that doesn't cover. It just covers the cancellation of a flight, but not if you get sick and if you need to go to a doctor or if you're feeling symptoms of COVID-19. That's how travel insurance can cover those expenses. And it's something that people have to, regardless where you're traveling, whether you're traveling internationally or domestically, that's always important to have because you just never know. It's just for protection. And also, yes, if your flight gets canceled due to, say, weather or unfortunate circumstances, because this world today, it's very chaotic. You don't know what's going on in this world. There's a lot of diseases or war, countries at war with each other. You just never know what will happen in this world. So that's where travel insurance comes in handy. If you didn't know the importance of travel insurance. And for future, I do plan to have somebody to discuss more in depth the importance of travel insurance. So, a couple of things. Yes, always hire a travel advisor to plan, to give you tips, to give you some ideas to explain the importance of travel insurance. And also another thing is travel advisors know when the best times and the best deals are in a specific destination. And I'm going to promote some deals with cruising. Celebrity Cruises, Virgin Voyages, Royal Caribbean, they're all having sales right now. And I'm specifically saying those three cruises only because that's the three main cruise. I don't sell Virgin, but there are people in TravelWise International who do sell Virgin. I do plan to sell Virgin once I get on. One of the most popular cruise lines in the industry because it focuses on adults only. It's an adults only cruise. So you leave your kids at home and that's and then you go on that cruise whether it's in Spain or Greece or the Caribbean, and then in 2020 end of 2023 they're also expanding to Australia and New Zealand. And if anyone who's listening is a fan of Richard Branson, as much as I am, and I've been talking about Virgin Voyages for the last two episodes, when I had my fellow travel advisors from TravelWise International on. They always said great things about Virgin Voyages because of its adults only. It's an adults only cruise and its amenities. But going back to the best deals and the best times to go, and I'm going to promote cruising here. Why? Is because between cruising and land tours, cruising's a lot cheaper. Why? Because it covers expense. You don't have to find a hotel unless you arrive at the destination a day before or a day or two before your cruise. And everything is included: hotel, drinks, sometimes food, depending what cruise line you plan to go to. But I do promote or sell Royal Caribbean, Celebrity Cruises, which are their partner. The difference between Royal Caribbean and Celebrity Cruises, the Celebrity is I went on a Celebrity cruise. What do you call this? Review, or I was able to review its newest ship back in October, and it's probably one of the most sophisticated. I'm not a cruiser. I will begin the cruising bandwagon because it's very trending in travel at the moment. But one of the greatest things I saw about what I loved about Celebrity Cruises is that it has that luxury resort at sea feel, and it does remind me of staying at a luxury hotel in Las Vegas. And plus also the food, the drinks, the jacuzzi, and the amenities are always a plus. And I do want to say they're having a great sale. Europe, some great ones from going to Europe and the Caribbean, plus for those who are thinking about, who don't have a budget to do anything in Europe or in the Caribbean, there's always the option of going to Bermuda, especially for those who are in the New York, New Jersey area. The port leaves from Bayonne, and there's some 7-day, there's a great 7-day itinerary to Bermuda with Celebrity Cruises that run from May to July. 7-day, 10-day. There's some ports with some stops to Martha's Vineyard or Charleston, South Carolina, which is another great. I haven't been to Charleston, South Carolina on my bucket list because I hear great things about Southern hospitality and the food. And I've been a big fan of Paula Deen. For those who religiously watch Food Network, in the past, Paula Deen is from Charleston, South Carolina. So that's one thing with cruises, celebrity cruises. There's some sales that are going on where the second guest pays about 75-80% of the regular price. Royal Caribbean is probably the most popular cruise lines in the industry. And a lot of it for those who do have kids who are of special needs, autism, emotional disorders. They do have a menu for kids who have teamed up with autism by an organization. I have to forgot the title, but it's Autism by Seas, and they partner. That organization partnered with Royal Caribbean to help guests special disabilities with their menu. Because if anyone has worked with special needs children or those with disabilities, especially kids or adults with autism, they're very particular with what they eat. And so they have the organization had partnered with Royal Caribbean to have a specialized menu for clients who Royal Caribbean. If you have kids or who have kids, adults who have special disabilities. Now, yes, cruising, as that's one of the biggest trends in the travel industry, and that's probably one of the best ways where you could see the world too, is because when you go to a cruise, depending how long it is, if you go on a short cruise, there's some short cruises on Virgin Voyages that sail out of Miami. You go to Key West and to Bimini Beach in the Bahamas. You get to the great thing about cruising is that you go to multiple places. Okay, you could be in Miami in one day, and then the next day you wake up, you're in Key West, and then the next day you're in the Bahamas. Yeah, it's the same with Europe. Most of the popular ports are from either Athens or Rome or Barcelona. And the cool thing is when you do a Mediterranean itinerary, and I'll give an example, Royal Caribbean has one of their popular itineraries is Symphony of Seas, where they have itineraries sailing to and from Barcelona or Rome, and in their itineraries you're in one city each day, and you get to explore different maybe the most 5 cities in a span of 1 week, which is what's amazing about cruising in comparison to going on a land tour, or you travel independently, where you only have time to see maybe a week. You really are not only pressed for time, but you only are able to see maybe 3 cities the most. And trust me, 3 cities is a lot. Sometimes, yeah, the most popular ones, itineraries coming out of Italy is Rome, Florence, Venice. And most of the time most travelers only have a week because jobs only allow you to take vacation. If you're a teacher, obviously you have summers off and some winter break, midwinter recess, spring break, you have a couple of breaks where you can actually travel at least a week or 10 days. Of working class people here in the United States have maybe depending how many vacation times you're able to have. Most consumers usually take within a week or a 7 to 10 day trip, and that's reasons why you need to hire a travel advisor, because they could plan out your entire trip within the time frame where you're on vacation. So I do recommend looking into cruises, because a span of a week or 10 days, you could see 3 countries, 4 cities in that time frame, and also take advantage that it's also food, lodging, all in one. And then there's also excursions as well that you do before you embark on your cruise, or you do it after you disembark. A little bit of, if you don't know what cruising is, embarkation, and I just learned this year as a travel advisor, because I've never gone on a cruise until I went on Celebrity Cruises during their newest ship review. Is embarkation is actually when the ship leaves the port. And just like when you go to an airport, you have to be there at least 2 hours before departure. And I'm going to also mention too, if you are traveling internationally, and this is very important that you know this, is that when you travel internationally, you have to be at the airport at least 2 hours in advance. And I like to be there 3 hours in advance. And I learned this when I went to Korea, only because I did forget to file. I had to file. We have in order to go to Korea, you have to file. You have to do an application. It's called KETA, and you have to file that. You have to fill out that application 72 hours before departure. And what I learned from that experience is I kind of forgot about it, because when I went to Korea, this was during the new year, and even though I did know I was supposed to do that, it just slipped my mind because it was busy at work. But when you go to Korea, you have to file that application. It's just to see if you're vaccinated and where you traveled within the last 14 days and so forth. That's a requirement. And if you don't file that application, you cannot go on board on your flight to Seoul or wherever you're going in the country. And usually, yes, I always tell people or my clients that be at the airport at least 3 hours in advance when you travel internationally. And you could say the same thing too also when you go cruising. What I've also learned is, if you are doing a cruise, do be there of when the cruise begins, so that you just have time to adjust, and also you have time to adjust and also just relax after a long flight wherever you're going, Caribbean or Europe, or cruising in Asia. I want to tell you some of my top destinations that all of you who travel lovers, Travel and Leisure always has its 50 best destinations to go to in 2023. New York Times also have its 52 best cities. Condé Nast, there's always a list out there. And that kind of also makes it a little bit overwhelming, which is why you should also hire a travel advisor to kind of figure out and navigate through what place what place should I go to this year? And I'm always going to say, and it just depends on what you want to do. If you're a beach lover, obviously the most popular beach destinations in each continent, Thailand is a great one. And I am going to promote Philippines too. Philippines has one of the most beautiful beaches, and it's really more fun there. And I hope to see tourism popular like Maldives, Thailand, even Malaysia, Indonesia. And just to note, yeah, in the Philippines, everyone understands and speaks English. Whereas in Thailand, like Korea and Japan, there's a cultural barrier, but they have like obvious. Those are Thailand is a beautiful place, especially its beaches. So, if say somebody wants to go to Asia, and that's kind of I do mostly Asia and Europe, and as a traveler, I'm into Asia right now, thanks to Korean drama, Japanese food. What else do I like? Oh, Crazy Rich Asians. And also, just Asia has it's trending. It's trending in travel because despite the long flight, it's cheap. You could do 5-star luxury in Vietnam, and it'll roughly cost you, unlike if you were to do luxury in New York, rooms go as big as 1,000 if you want to stay in like Four Seasons or Mandarin Peninsula. And you could stay in a 5-star hotel in Vietnam or the Philippines for a less. And you don't even have to, let's see, you don't have to be a budget traveler to, you don't have to make much. You just have to budget wisely in order to afford a luxury vacation especially in Southeast Asia. My recommendations for Asia, I'm always going to promote Philippines because it's more fun there, and the most popular islands are obviously Palawan, Siargao, Cebu, Siargao, because it's that's what Travel and Leisure and other travel media outlets are promoting. But I'm always going to say, if you have a chance to go to Davao, that's where my mom is from. I love Davao. It's just so beautiful there. It's clean. And just to let you know, for all boxing fans, Manny Pacquiao is from Davao. I hope to see, well, and yes, the night markets there too is pretty amazing. And there are things in Davao that foods in Davao that you could try that you can't get in certain places in Manila, like mangosteen jam and durian. I had durian, what's that? The sesame ball. Yes, the sesame ball with the red paste. But yeah, when I went to Davao, at the food market there, I had different flavors from durian, ube, pandan, sesame ball, buchi. That's it. the Filipino name for the sesame ball. But also, what's trending, which I learned from the new Philippine tourism, the tourism director is Cebu is actually when I was interviewing him, he just said Cebu, especially Iloilo, is probably one of the best foodie destinations to go to for anyone who's traveling to the Philippines, which was, I was really curious because I was expecting that he'd say Pampanga because that is the culinary capital of the world. And if you ever watched Anthony Bourdain, he traveled through the culinary delights of Pampanga, from eating barbecue and going to the night markets there. But it was interesting to see the new director of Philippines tourism in New York say that destination that one must go to if you're foodie lovers is Iloilo. And I haven't been to Cebu yet, so it's been on my bucket list. So moving from Asia, well, we'll stick with Asia. I've been to also Singapore, and if you've ever been watched Crazy Rich Asians, do that tour, the hawker stalls. And one of the best times to go to Singapore is during the New Year, where I was able to see the fireworks overlooking the Marina Sands hotel, which is a hotel the popular hotel, which has the infinity pool, and which is also seen in Crazy Rich Asians, where the two main characters had their engagement party. And being that also Singapore is a very safe and disciplined country, there's nobody litters there. Basically, you could sleep on the street and not get murdered. You could wake up with your wallet on the side, and you'll still have your money because they're honest. And that was one of the most yes, Singapore. It's just a beautiful country, food wise, and just seeing how disciplined everybody there, and they follow rules, and that's very the opposite of New York City, where nobody follows. But I still love my city. New York is, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, which is why I travel a lot. So Singapore, and also if you do Singapore, you also have to do Malaysia as well. Especially, well, Kuala Lumpur. You need to if you do Malaysia, the base is Kuala Lumpur, and the Petronas Towers and Batu Caves are beautiful. But one of my favorite Malaysian cities is Penang. Why? That's food. The reason why people travel nowadays, other than going to the beaches and seeing and I'm not going to talk about Korea because I've talked about Korea in past podcasts, but also that's one of my favorite after Singapore. Probably my second favorite Asian country is Korea, or Seoul. I've only been to Seoul, and same thing. Nice people. The only problem is the language barrier. Even when you ask for help, everybody's helpful. And I did share this in a previous episode that I was asking directions from a man who was drunk, and he was still helpful despite being intoxicated. That's how friendly the Koreans are, and very helpful. And that's part of, yes, the honor system. And we'll move on from Asia, and we'll go into Europe. And I'm always going to say, and this is always on everybody's bucket list, is Italy, because Italy has everything. Beautiful beaches, beautiful people. They're also friendly. The Italians are very family oriented, like the Filipinos. And if you do happen to want to go to Milan, there's a big Filipino population there. And that's pretty evident because they do have a Jollibee near the Duomo. And I remember my friend asking me if I wanted Chicken Joy. I was like, I didn't come to Italy to have Chicken Joy. I came for my espresso and my prosciutto sandwich. I was like, I don't even really eat Chicken Joy here in New York because it's expensive, but I do love, when I have a craving for it, that's when I eat Chicken Joy. But Italy's amazing, and depending where you go, beautiful beaches, architecture. If you're big on the arts and culture, Florence. I highly recommend Florence, one of my favorite cities, and it's also one of the most expensive cities in Europe. And it's also been in a lot of travel. Florence is always a top city amongst travel writers because of its culture, and also the food. It's close to Tuscany. If you love wine, Chianti is not far from Florence, and Pisa, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and then there's Cinque Terre, one of 56 UNESCO sites in Italy, and also not far from Florence is Bologna, where spaghetti bolognese, or spaghetti with meat sauce, that's where spaghetti with meatballs or with meat sauce is invented in Bologna. And I could go more in depth with Italy if you decide to want to go to Italy. You could always hit me up, and I will plan your Italian destination. So we're rounding up. I'm going to say a couple of more European cities that I recommend for this year is Paris. And I am planning to go to Paris this year because a friend of mine is getting married there in November. And that's always Paris. Just take note, France is the most popular country that most tourists go to, obviously, because Paris is a beautiful city. It has everything, the same thing, food, the culture, just like Italy. And it's romantic, just like Italy. But that's mainly in most people's bucket list because most people also do the whole London-Paris itinerary as well, where you could take the train. It's about 2 hours distance, and that's usually most travelers choose London and Paris as a first-time destination to Europe. And don't forget also Greece as well. Greece, Athens, you can never go wrong with the history. If you love ancient history, Athens, if you're big on drama, I recommend going to Delphi. If you're a big sports fan, Olympia, and also the Greek islands are beautiful. One of my favorite places that I've been to is Santorini, and everything is just the blue domes that's just a very picturesque, Instagrammable place that everybody should go once in their lifetime. And do it if you do. If Europe is on the back of your mind, I do want to promote that TAP Airlines from Portugal. That's the Portugal airlines, the main airlines for Portugal. They are advertising that if you choose to go to any European country, that you can include a long layover, from anywhere from 1 day to 10 days to either Lisbon or Porto. And Portugal, is a very popular European destination for many because it is cheap, and also many people are Americans are choosing to retire there because it's cheap and safe. So that's also that's on my bucket list too. I'm planning to take that advantage of that deal when I go, if I go to Paris in November. Well, hopefully this episode has helped you plan wisely, and feel free to hit me up, or you could hit up any TravelWise international advisor at iTravelWise.com, and you could simply email any advisor or give the office a call, and we could help you. Our advisors can help you plan that special destination that you will forever remember for eternity. Smart People Travel Wise airs every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Pacific. I'm Tennie Sumague, always happy to help you travel wisely, and take care and see you next time.